already.
Hello everybody, this is Hammer Striker here. Today I've got an AK on the table, more specifically an AK pistol. It's a Zastava PAP M92PV. This particular one is made in Serbia. They're really actually pretty nice pistols. It's really smooth wood on the forend. It's open wood, it's not finished or anything, but it's really smooth and doesn't abrade your fingers, doesn't give you any slivers. It's well done. So first thing I'm going to do is we'll start out with showing that it's unloaded. And it's kind of interesting, if you look at it, the bolt's open, but it's not hung on the safety. This one has a bolt hold open feature. When it's used with the Yugo mag that comes with it, or other similar mags, it has a bolt hold open. Now the only thing about that is, as soon as you do remove the mag, it doesn't continue to hold. So unlike a pistol, which will lock open, like a 8 Glock or any other pistol that'll lock open and stay locked open, this will lock open, make it easily obvious to you that it's empty, but as soon as you remove the mag, the bolt's going to go home. So that's kind of a cool feature. Now, it will work with something like, for example, this P-mag. This is a 30-round mag. It comes with one 30-round mag that operates the bolt hold open. It will work with P-mags and basically any mag that will work in an AK, but it will not operate the bolt hold open. So it'll just operate right like a normal AK, but it'll work reliably with them. Having this at the range, it was a lot of fun, and it's also a very well done, well machined pistol. It has a mag well that was designed to be a double stack all along, so it hasn't been machined out like some of the Ban era guns were. It does have the dimples to stabilize the magazine. It has a forged bolt, and of course the receiver and the other components like any other AK are stamped. It can be set up with an SB Tactical SB47 brace. They work by loosening the bolt on the grip. You push the grip down a little bit and it slides underneath there, and then you tighten it back up. There's a bolt right there. This one doesn't have it, but it does work with it. And that's a lot easier to put a brace on this design with that brace than it is where you actually have to drill out rivets and re-rivet components. And one of the other things that makes it easier to do that is that the back end is perfectly flat and square. So when the brace sits, it can sit up against this and go in nicely and stay where you need it to stay, so it doesn't end up being sloppy. The sights on this are a little bit unique. In this configuration right now, it looks very similar to AK sights. So you've got a notch at the back, you've got a post at the front inside of a shroud, but flip of the finger, I got a 2-dot sight at the rear, another flip up here at the front, and now I've got 3-dot sights. I have a real hard time seeing conventional AK sights. I usually do something, put a red dot on it or something so I can see the sights. With this, you just flip those two things up. So now that I got it to focus, you can see I can flip this down and you've got a post, and it kind of sits in flush, or I can flip it up with a finger and you've got a dot. With that 3-dot configuration, it makes it easier to see than typical AK sights. The sight assembly itself is also the hinge for the hinge top cover, which does two things. One, it makes the top cover stay in place and it stays aligned, so the top cover isn't lost, and it also makes it that it flips up, it's easy to work with. You don't have to take various other components out to lift up the cover. It has your typical AK style safety, and consistent with any other AK, it doesn't have any other additional safeties. It has a 10-inch barrel, and it is a threaded barrel underneath here. It's a 26 by 1.5 left hand. You know, of course, it uses the 7.62 by 39 typical AK round, but it is welded. If you see if I can get it into focus, you'll see a weld right here, right where my finger is. And then there's another weld underneath. They're put there for compliance with some import restrictions. It's not particularly heavy, it's 6.6 pounds. And with the 10-inch barrel, it's easy to get a hold of and manipulate, but the barrel's long enough that the business end is far enough away from your hands. As long as you keep your hands where they belong, you're not going to have any problems getting too close to it. Taking it apart and maintaining it is actually really easy. There's a button on the back you push. Of course, with the bolt closed, the top cover lifts up. Pull out the recoil spring, and the bolt comes off. And then you can further disassemble the bolt. It's a standard AK bolt, so you can further disassemble the bolt, rotate it out, and disassemble it. All of the machining on the bolt is high quality, but they haven't gone to any effort to hide machining marks. There are machining marks, but the parts that matter, in fact you can see some up there, and up in there you'll see the machining marks. But where it matters, they've done a really good job on it, and it should be an overly reliable bolt. Putting it back in is as easy as getting it out. Of course, it's easier to do it now. In this case, the bolt fell apart. It's easier to do it if you're not trying to do it on camera. Now, I did say it was easy to put it in, and then of course as soon as I put it in, the bolt fell out. Well, mostly that's because I've got the gun tilted the wrong way and I've got it turned on camera. If you were laying this on a table and doing it properly, and I fixed that while I had paused, then it would go together quite easily. Like most guns, they're designed to be put together holding them in the proper position, not necessarily turning them to have them on camera. Put the recoil spring back in, bring the cover back down, it snaps in place, and you're good to go. One other characteristic of this gun is the trigger. Typical AK triggers are a little bit rough, they're a little notchy, and they're a little bit heavy. This one comes in just under 4 pounds, and it's real short and crisp. Doesn't have any noticeable wall, minimal take up, there's the break. It's got an excellent trigger on it. This is not your typical AK trigger, and it's unmodified. This is the trigger that came on it right when I bought it. Of all of the different features of this gun, probably the sights and the trigger are the parts that make it the most fun to shoot and the easiest to shoot. One other thing that's kind of characteristic of AKs and also kind of gives some of their appeal is they're noisy. They cycle noisy, the triggers are noisy, the hammer falling is noisy. There's nothing particularly refined about the AK, which is what makes that trigger kind of nice because it is actually a refined component. That's better than a lot of stock AR triggers. Overall, I enjoy the gun. Its practicality is somewhat limited. It could be used as a PDW because it is short and compact and it's relatively powerful. But as far as hunting or anything with this, it would be less useful for that. It's more of a fun gun to have, a good range day gun, possibly PDW. But overall, mostly you had to have something like this because it's cool to have something like this. It functions and works just like an AK, just a little more refined than a typical AK. From an MSRP standpoint, the MSRP is around $749. You're going to pay close to that. As I'm seeing prices, if you can get one right now, because we're right in the middle of the whole coronavirus thing, I'm seeing them at minimum of $650, and some of them above MSRP. So the price is not super cheap, but it's moving around. So hopefully you enjoyed seeing a pretty cool gun and a fun gun to shoot. You saw me blowing up water jugs with it. Overall, if you get one of these, I think you'll enjoy having it. Beyond that, if you like our videos, please give us a thumbs up, share, subscribe, click the bell to be notified if you do. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, all over the place. Thank you.
Should be one more in there.